Okay. You. Yes, couldn't. Okay, we are definitely live on the air. Definitely. Good morning, Marie B from the UK. Wow, you're pretty early, Marie. Thank you for logging in. Um, I'm just gonna wait for a few seconds here and let everybody comes in for a minute, and then we start this. As guys, as you come in the room, just as you logged in, just share the page, share the page, share the page. Gonna have a beautiful discussion here. Thank you, Marie. Christine, hi, Christine. Thank you for logging in. Nice seeing you. I noticed all my UK fans is logging in. That is so good. Nice seeing you. Let me share the link out. I'm gonna send it to you also, Mr. Bank, yes, as requested. So later on, you'll definitely see it. Um, Hi, Betsy. I see you. I understand. Thank you for logging in. Thank you for logging in. Okay, guys, as you come in the room, just definitely just start sharing the link. Start sharing the link. All right. Good. All right. Yes, I seen the share going. Okay. Hi, Steven Souza. Reggae gentleman is in the room. Thank you very much, Steven, for logging in. I know you would hear it, Steven. Know you would hear. Definitely. Guys, as you come in, send the link out, send the link out, all right? You log in. Again, thank each and every one for being here. Um, we have a very, very important brother here in the room, and you know, he's so fascinated with everything that he stands for, believe in, and just reasoning with him, myself on a one-on-one, I could definitely tell where this brother is heading, and it's all for good place and good everything. Um, you guys gonna see for yourself today what he's all about, and you get to learn more about him. Because the more you learn more about him, is the more you see what's going on up there and what's all his intentions are for. And I tell you, I don't think I've ever searched over the internet so much for a person that I'm going to interview. I search and I get something, but it's so funny, Mr. Banky. The more I search for you, is the more I see people putting stuff up, quote unquote, up, you know, and certain things that I should say before I start. Top of the good morning. Welcome to the Lion TV show. Um, as I said, every time I search for you, people put things up, and one thing always stands out that people keep basing stuff on when it comes to you, and I'm like, why? Two-word, Rastafarian and marijuana. That's all the focus of most people conversation. They want to know what's up with that, what's up with that, and it's such a cliche, it's ridiculous. And but anyway, guys, I want to say, Mr. Carl Whitman, thank you very much. Guys, as you come in, share the page. I want to see share on each and every person name. Share the page, drop it in the groups, or share it in your messenger, because I need everybody to come and and sit and talk. Now, again, if you do have any questions, um, ask in the room, of course, and I'm gonna let you guys know straight up. I may miss your question because I'm here, talking with this gentleman and, trying to pay less attention in the room, but don't feel bad about it. I will still try to maintain in the room and pick up your question. So keep dropping it. I will see it somewhere or the other, and I promise I will definitely get a response on that. Thank you, Beef in the UK. I seen. Whoa, what happened? I'm only broadcast. I see Ella from South Africa logged in. Hi, Ella. How are you? Thank you for joining in. And now, Mr. Banky, I want you to state your full name because I have to break it up in syllables. Break it up and try to. I'm always messing up people's name. Even sometimes I mess up my own father's name sometimes. But I need you to break it up and give us your name. N- yeah, not your audio went out. Go ahead. Try again.
BANKOLE, YAO, AHADZIE.
Okay. Okay. So your name alone is very interesting because especially from Jamaica, we have two names plus our middle name, you know, and you have at least about four put together. So that, and I know it's all a cultural thing and it's all, different things added into the names and stuff like that. So that alone grab especially anybody in the Caribbean. And as I said, you are a trending person on social media. Even Mukabaruka, you heard of him in Jamaica, right?
I have.
Mukabaruka did a blog on you, and it was so amazing. The blog that he did on you, and he's drawing people in Jamaica attention to you and what you stand for. You are what, 43 years of age?
44 now. I'm
44.
44.
Yeah. So I'm your elder. I'm way older than you, and I'm still got I'm still looking at you and wow, amazing, your young brother, and trying to fill a spot that need to be filled, need to be filled. You was born on the 21st of July, 1977. Whoa. And you were live where at you were born in what Wellville Clinic,
Westfield Clinic.
Westville Clinic, yes. And then you live in on what Vangel Street. That's where first you lived in, and then your parents moved down to Pipeline.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with that trending, single parent, of course. You never spoke of your dad. Is your dad still around or?
No, he passed in.
Yeah, your audio is cutting out. Audio is
He
cutting out.
passed in 90.
Yeah, you say he passed away in the 90s.
Yeah, but I never knew him. I grew up with my mom, Gambian, but my dad is Ghanaian.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yao means. So in Ghana, they have a tradition of.
Um,
That's what
yeah, the audio, the
time
audio, the audio is cutting out. I don't know why it's cutting out. 'Cause I don't want him to miss anything of you.
is it
Hmm.
any better now?
Yes, a little bit, yes.
Yes, so I was saying my dad was Ghanaian,
Hmm.
and in Ghana they have this thing where they name Yao is for people born on Thursday. Those the
Oh,
Kwamis, Tracy. they're all for different days of. I happen to be a YAO. That's where the YAO comes from. That's where the JOjO comes from. BANKOLE is a Nigerian name. I belong to would have been people that returned to Freetown after the slave trade started spreading. BANKOLE is a. Apparently, it means help me build a house. But in Gambia, they name you like, you know, people that people look up to. If you want your child to be like Dion, you name your child after Dion.
Okay. Okay. Guys in the room, yeah, I know the audio cuts out sometime, but you're saying, are you hearing the guests pretty much? Audio very low, Dion. Audio is very low. See if there's any you could turn up the audio on your thing. Let me see what's going on. Because on my end, I can't see much here.
Up to the max. I turn it down to.
Yeah, you go. And it's up to the max. And it's cutting right out. Yeah, I can. There's the thing is that I can't turn up your audio from here, and you're cutting out. Audio cutting out, cutting out.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you now. Yeah, when you said, "Can you hear me?" Yeah.
Is it any better? Like.
Yes, yes, a little bit. It's louder. Guys, tell me what do you think? To me, it came up a little bit. Yeah, came up louder a little. Guys, talk to me. How is the audio on your side? Want to get there. Okay, they said the audio came up a little better. So, okay. Let him try closer. Let him try closer to the mic. Okay. Yeah, it's a bit better. All right, Mr. Banky, tell me now. Let me hear.
Okay.
Yes.
I don't know whether this is any better, but it was on speakerphone
Yes.
and I turned it to earpiece. So you might have to speak up for me to hear you, but I'm hearing you through the.
Okay, and I'm hearing you very loud. I'm hearing you very loud right now.
Okay.
All right. So go back into that name because that's very interesting. The way that you were named.
So, okay. People in Gambia mostly name people after other people they want the child to adopt their habits or be like that person. So I was named after an uncle, but we come from the descendants of slaves that were returned to Freetown after slavery finished. So that set of people have a lot of Yoruba tradition, which is from Nigeria.
Okay.
And so the first name, Bankole, is actually a Yoruba name. And apparently in Nigeria, it means somebody who helps you build a house, like build a society, build a community. The surname AHADZIE is from Ghana. My dad is or was Ghanaian. He's passed now. And in Ghana, they have a thing for naming people after the days of the week. So the YAO is for being born on Thursday. Ekwesi, Ekwami, Ekojo, Ekweku, all those names mean a different day of the week.
Okay.
JOjO is also a Ghanaian name. I guess they just wanted to give me a bonus name.
Because of your dad. Because of your dad. That's awesome. Awesome. Also, I want to welcome Dope Queen out of South Africa. Also, Jade from Florida. I seen Mr. Whittingham from Washington D.C. Okay, guys, thank you for logging in. Beautiful. Now, one thing that I love about your mom, even though I know just a little bit about her, But one thing she stands for, principle, education. You understand? Discipline. That was your mom. And you know, single parent, going through, a whole bunch of stuff, on a day-to-day basis, and she wanted the best for you. And that's the thing, the best. My son better have that. So if you get it and you don't, cherish or expand from that, then it's all about you. But she did made that provision for you to get that education. So that was it. Now, let's go a little bit in your education. You started off, you went to couple, high school from what we would call here in Jamaica, whatever, primary. Then you go to technical, then you go to high school, and you did A levels, O levels. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Okay, so like you said, my mom, I was an only child, so she thought that she would not spare any expense when it comes to education. So I'm forever grateful. Whatever I am today is because of the choices that she made. But I wasn't an only child that was spoiled.
Your
On
grandma.
the contrary, she really did like go out on a limb. She was like, no, there's nobody gonna spoil my child. I remember the reason why we moved out early was because my grandmother used to always protect me.
Spoiled you, not protect, spoiled you.
Protect is what I remember it fondly as. And she thought she wasn't going to have any of that. So she moved out, so there's no interference, so she could bring me up the way she wanted to bring me up. So at the time it was, it was tough love, but today I'm grateful for that. Today I'm forever grateful for that. I don't see it like how now people think it's traumatic that they were beaten as a child. When I was growing up, that was the standard thing.
Thank
We all
you.
got beaten when you did wrong things.
Yep.
So, yeah, I would just want to put it out there that yes, I was beaten and everything, but
Me
I'm
too.
grateful for that.
Me too. Yep.
So yeah, at the time she put me in a school that was one of the best schools in town. This is where the presidents, the ministers, their children were going to. So it was a struggle to get into the school. It was more expensive than all the other schools, but she thought, okay, it's the only child I have. I might as well spend the money now. So I got into Marina School, and in '89 I graduated from, that was a primary school. I graduated with what we call here the common entrance. I'm sure you had something similar in Jamaica or in the UK.
Yes.
And then it was from 1 to 5 where you do O levels, which I did in '94, and then Form 6, which I did in '96. That was a 2-year course. And I guess it's all like around the British system of education. It has changed now to the American system. They're doing grade 9s and grade 12s now, but I went through the British system. And after '96, I spent a couple of years looking for work because most people don't like to employ anybody with A levels. The argument is that at the time, Gambia did not have a university, so we're on our way out. Most people who finished Form 6 and they had good grades would eventually get a scholarship to go and study abroad. So employing somebody with A levels was like only a matter of time before they got a scholarship and moved on. So for 2 years, I was looking for jobs and I couldn't get any jobs. Eventually, I landed a job at the GTTI, which is the Gambia Technical Training Institute. And we were in the civil and mechanical lab helping out because I was a science student in school. We were helping out with the calculations for blocks and things like that. Eventually, they started giving us classes to teach. There was a qualification from the UK called City and Guild, which they had certificate and diploma levels in, and we were teaching the students the math components of it, the integrations, the calculus, the difficult bits that like they didn't have people for at the time. So yeah, that is the extent of my education in Gambia.
No.
I don't know whether you want me to continue towards my other job, which gave me the scholarship to come to the UK, or
I want you also to talk about that, and also when you get that job, it's also I think the one that based from you to go to abroad was that cafe that you was working at, that internet cafe, right?
Yeah, no. So the internet cafe gave me computer experience. The internet came to the Gambia in 2000, and at the time there were telecenters and internet cafes. Like not everybody had a landline, so there were these phone centers where you could go and make calls and call other people. And when the internet came as well, there was not that many computers. So we had an internet cafe with about 12 computers, all hooked up to a network. And people would come and pay for using 30 minutes of time or 1 hour of time. So fixing the network or fixing the computers, this is Windows 98 I'm talking about. When we started the internet cafe, it was Windows 98 we were running. And then we went to Windows NT and, so that's where I got the experience for the other job, which I applied to, which is at the MRC, which I still am working at currently part-time. So MRC is the Medical Research Council. It actually is a part of the British government, I would say. So they've been here for over 50 years running medical research on tropical diseases. So they have quite a big camp here. And they employ, over time, it was more, I guess, Europeans that were staffing the place, but over time, they started employing more and more Gambians, and not just Gambians, people all across West Africa, and even from as far away as Bangladesh. So I was lucky to get in, and they saw my potential, and they gave me a scholarship 2 years after I got in October 2000 to go and study in the UK. So I ended up at Brunel University in 2002, and I did a degree in internet engineering, which I completed in 2005.
But it's amazing. Every year you did what, a three-year course, but every year you came back to Gambia.
Yeah. But that was part of their requirements. They didn't want to pay for me to be on holiday in the UK while I could be working in the IT department for the 2 or 3 months of summer.
Oh, so that's why. That's why you trip. So hold
Yeah.
on. So that going back and forth, that was on your expense or their expense?
That's on their expense. But it worked out cheaper for them to bring me back and for me to work here for the 2 or 3 months of summer than to pay for me to live in the UK for the same 2 or 3 months of summer doing nothing.
Okay. So you pay back into your thing. Beautiful. So returning back from the UK with your degree, did you start out? So I know before you even go into that herbal thing that you started out on, but did you decide that you wanted to start out doing something in the internet? Now you have a degree as an internet engineer. Did you wanted to start a business on that level or what?
Not really. I mean, MRC is a good employer, so they do take care of you. It's one of the few places that people would love to work at, and people that work at MRC get respected. Unfortunately, they think most of us are doctors just because we work in a medical institution. So whenever you tell people locally that you work at MRC, they think you're a doctor. But no, they were paying quite well. I was happy with the position that I came back to. It was a graduate position. First in IT, then I moved from IT into data management, which is where we develop applications to support the data we collect for the medical research that we're doing. So internet engineering, yes, it had a nice buzz, but it was really a computer science degree with some modules that were concentrating on internet technologies and networking. So in the first year, I did the same modules with everybody in the electrical and electronic engineering department.
Okay.
And it's in the second and third year that you start to specialize and do other modules that are more relevant to the degree that you picked.
Nice. So you were pretty much you're making a good pretty change for yourself financially, and your education hands off. So you were pretty much comfortable.
Yeah.
But I think around 2002, your frustration started to begin. Frustration, what I would say about with, the whole government politics crap that's going on.
That only started a couple of years ago.
Okay.
2002 is when I went to study in the UK, and I came back in 2005. And between 2005 up to the end of 2019, I think 2019 or 2020 November.
Mm-hmm.
No, not 2020. 2019 November, I think, is when I started saying I'd stand for president.
Yeah. 2019, yes. Now, and you voted, you voted for the prime minister that's in right now, the president that's in right now, right?
Yeah.
You voted. So a person can't say, "Oh, well, you never do not." You saw what was going on, and you think that at that given time, whatever they were saying, they came good with the talks, of course, like every other. Yes.
Yeah, but I'd like to say I voted against, not necessarily for. So Gambia for 22 years had a military ruler a soldier turned president.
The soldier turned president. Yeah.
Yes, and I think we were getting fed up as Gambians with what he was doing. It was getting worse every year, and it was getting more dictatorial. So I wouldn't say we voted for the current president. We were voting against that president.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, when I looked, I go back as far as looking on, the presidential, all who campaign, most of the candidates and stuff like that. Go back a couple of years and stuff like that, and especially here in America, your education could be sky level about everything. But if you have a hole in your pants, that's the focus. Oh, he got a hole in his pants. And look there. That is not what you have here that matters. Appearances. They said, show me, back in Jamaica, show me your company, I tell you who you are. One day I said to my mother, so, they said, show me your company, because you could basically put that in a wide gap of everything. So, Mom, So if I hang out with junkie, does that make me a junkie? I could be that person there that trying to show them the light. I may be that individual that they are comfortable in talking to their problem, telling me their problems, this and that. Not necessarily that phrase is correct. But when you decide to throw in your ballot of running for the presidency, the first thing you people didn't take you serious until when you put in your paperwork in and you start gather, I guess, your team. And people.
The paperwork is not in yet, by the way. The paperwork in the Gambia for independent candidates, they decide. So they've announced that it's between the 30th of October and the 5th of November. Nobody has paperwork in yet. People who have parties have registered their parties, but I'm standing as an independent candidate. And all candidates have to submit their paperwork between the 30th of October and 5th of November.
Whoa, that's much a long process. But and you have not submitted as yet. Why is that?
Because that's the timetable that the electoral people so it's only when they say it's time, it's when people can submit it.
Oh.
Recently they were registering everybody else. They were re-registering every voter. They thought that there were people that had voting rights in Gambia that didn't deserve it. They assumed that they were coming from Senegal, the neighboring country. there was all this talk about that's how the former president was winning. So they wanted to re-register everybody again, and they only finished that in July. So they're actually going through the process of publishing that.
July of last year or this year?
Of this year, a few months ago. Sorry, not July, June. May 29 to July 11th is when they were having the voter registration. So right now, people are going through to check that they haven't made any mistake, that their name is on the voter list, or if there are people there that shouldn't be there, they're going to the courts and complaining to say, strike this person out. He doesn't have what it takes to be a Gambian. So the way elections work in the Gambia is that that body, the IEC, the Independent Electoral Commission, is the one that gives the timetable for all the events that lead to the elections. So they're the ones that said between the 30th of October and the 5th of November, they will be accepting nominations from all the people who want to stand as president. So as at now, nobody has put in their paperwork yet because we're still waiting for that date to get there.
Okay. Now, do you think you have that experience on the country?
Sorry, repeat that.
Do you think you have that experience to run the country if it's handed to you?
I think that nobody ever has that experience. I haven't seen a school that teaches presidents. We learn on the job. I think I have what it takes to run the country, yes. I think I can think out of the box and in the box. I think I've made good judgments. I think I can identify with people because, like I said, I could have chosen to be comfortable and wear a suit or look flashy all the time, but I chose to be dreadlocked and be looked down upon. I actually like being looked down upon. It's a thing where if you know, okay, I am this person, but I know for a fact that people are going to perceive me as this person, and then they start to find out who you really are, what you really are. It's always a great feeling to see their face change, and you can see. So I always like to come in as the underdog.
I like that. That
I've had forever, and I just keep playing that part, see how people underrate you and think of you in a certain way, and then that flips. It's better to be thought of low and then made high than to be thought of high and then brought down low.
Your press conference.
Yeah.
People looked at you totally different from your press conference. I played and I listened to your press conference so much. Your team was there, and it took the internet by storm because now they're not seeing a dreadlocks brother standing right there, sitting right there, and don't know what he's really all about. You stated your education, just like how you did here, and you stated now why you want to run for that position. Now they try to come in. You tell about your manifesto as it is. But also they try to come with the talk about the health, the agriculture, and security. And I like what you said. You said, there are other parts in the politics, or what I should say, that you have not much experience, or you know little about, but you're working to give the answer, or you're working to put your team together in that aspect, and you will better able to answer the question properly. Now, was you nervous doing the what I should say, that press conference, because all eyes is on you? Everybody want to see what you were saying, and I love that you have you have your person alongside you giving a sign language. You have this other person who speaks. Because I think you speak, how many languages? Like about 4 or 5?
I speak only 2 or 3 languages. I don't know whether you call broken English a language, but we have a kind of patois, and then there's Wolof in English.
We call
I did a bit of French in school, but
and
that's about it.
And then you have another brother who also spoke a couple more languages that also. So you have
Yeah.
people around you that whatsoever, and you spoke English right through. So
Yeah.
everything could go here, there, no confusion. I love that. I love that. So, but I want to know, setting up that press conference, you stepped out. Were you a little bit nervous because you know the whole quote unquote Babylon system is all about? That's the thing. You I think you know how to work the system because you know you're the underdog and people are looking. Oh yeah, he goes screw it any minute. Let's listen. You know, you came out spot on, spot on with the question and answers. So I love that. But tell me about it. Tell
So,
me about it.
I mean, I made a conscious decision. Until recently, I had problems public speaking, just like most people do.
Really?
I was on a PhD program, and I remember I had to give a presentation, and I was freaking out. But so when I decided that I was going to stand in November, I bought some airtime from a radio station, and I used to go to the radio and talk about my programs. And I made a conscious decision at the time to like not write anything down, try and remember stuff, address it, like pretend you're having a conversation. So the first few episodes was the same, you know, stage fright, sweating, and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But then it's repetition. After a while, it becomes normal. So by the time I got to the press conference, I was prepared.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Raz Libra from Kenya. Big up yourself. I haven't seen you a long time, brother. Thank you for logging in. Thank you for logging in. Whoa. And I tell you, I like that. Now, your manifesto, as you said, is incomplete. And you definitely right now
It was,
this.
but I've since completed it, and
Oh, really?
well, I would say it's addressed the points that they raised at the time in agriculture, in security, in healthcare. So
Mm-hmm.
I've completed those aspects, but I mean, coming from the industry that I come from, I know nothing is static. We're busy updating our phones every day with the latest version of whatever software we're running.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, on the manifesto now, I just put it as version 1. That's like a
Mm-hmm.
testament to say that this can change. I'm not the only idea there, and if I hear new ideas that are better than mine, I'm willing to incorporate them.
You stand
So,
correct.
but as of now, I think I've covered all the things that people were asking for and other things that I thought about in between.
Okay. Free education. You
Yeah.
speak about that. And I like how you put it, and I want you to re-put it back so that people could understand. When you say free education to the parent. But of course, in the long run, like me, being a subject of the free education and got degrees of this and I have this, I've received this, I have achieved this in my free education. Now it's time for me to give back
Yeah.
to that system so that others, unfortunate, will be part of that. Explain that for me. For those who in the room you have never heard that.
So it's easier to call it free education on a political platform than to call it a student loan.
Mm-hmm.
But essentially, what I'm pushing there is student loans because we don't have any natural resources like other African countries, but we have people, and our people have demonstrated that if you give them a chance, they can perform because they're performing on the world stage.
Mm-hmm.
So my argument is, why don't we remove the barriers if the barriers to education is an economic one where a parent wouldn't be able to send a child to school because they cannot afford it till after the fact. Let's invest in education by paying for all the expenses that people need while they're studying so that they come out at a higher level, they are more profitable, sorry to say, to everybody with an education, and they will earn more and they will be able to pay back into the fund. Because really, why you would want it to be a student loan is for it to be sustainable. Who's
Mm-hmm.
going to be paying for the education? So if the people that benefited from it can sustain it, I don't see why not. I think that's a free and fair system. So if education is what gave me everything that I have today, I think that everybody should at least have a chance
Good chance for
to
this.
get educated. Yeah. Even if everybody doesn't pay back the student loans, I think the number of people that would have jobs would be enough to sustain the system.
Okay. Good job. And you spoke about the pay over
Yeah.
10,000 a month and stuff like that, which is not much, but it is something that is better than what it is right now. Speak on that.
So on average, well, I did the numbers recently because I want to do a political rally, but the government is spending on average 5,000 for every worker that it employs. And this is if you add the president's salary and the minister's salary right down to the cleaners. So total wage bill divided by total number of people employed. But the cost of living is very high. So when I go to the ghettos and I'm campaigning to young people, they're like, we don't mind working. We just don't see a job that deserves our energy because there's no point in being paid 3,000 or 5,000. 5,000 is about $100.
Hmm.
3,000 would be $60. There's no point in being paid that if you're going to spend 2,000 in fares alone and you'll only be left with 1,000. So like that's a slave wage. We'd rather sit on the corner and be thought of as useless than to waste our effort going to these jobs. The other issue is where the jobs, most of the jobs are in the security sector as a policeman, as a secret service person, as a fireman. These are the kinds of people that the government is employing. We don't have any industries, but we consume a lot of things from abroad. I'm just saying, why don't we start producing the things we consume locally so that the jobs can come, not just the produce? And that's where I'm hoping to create the jobs. Some jobs that are sustainable, some jobs that are related to things that we need and we consume in the Gambia. Because for me, that job would never go away. If we had a factory that made matches, well, until people stop cooking, we're going to need matches.
Yes.
If we had a factory that made nails, until people stop building, we're going to need nails. So
Yes.
these are the kinds of jobs that I want to come, and I believe that we can do them here.
Nice. In home. Is everything, import. It's crazy. Okay, another thing, national development. Now, you speak about the national development that you need to see going on. Also, you're looking at, you want, what I should say, if you was in $1 billion to be put towards sports, because there's no much money in there. You guys are good athletes, but they don't spend. Right now, you guys have a world record in. I'm trying to remember who has that world record in. What sport was it again? I'm trying to remember. You guys have a world record in.
We have what? Sorry, I didn't hear that.
A world record in sports. I'm trying to remember which one of the sports you guys have a world record in. It's not Bible.
We had a lady participate recently, Gina Bass, in the Olympics, but I
Yeah,
don't think she did any world records though.
yeah, but at least she went there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because your country, they don't really put that money out in incentives to have people going to the world, record and not world record into sports on a certain levels. So
Yeah.
you want them to at least put that into sports.
So yeah, when I look at Jamaica and I look at Gambia, physique-wise, we're the same physique. How come Jamaica is able to produce 100-meter sprinters like it's a factory process? I mean, I
Mhm.
think I remember, is it Ben Johnson or there's a couple of other Jamaicans that used to run the 102 meters, 200 meters before Usain Bolt. And
Yes.
then I heard this podcast on the BBC about how the Jamaican system It's like from school, from primary school, they recruit you or they move you to the school that's related to sports, and you keep competing at higher and higher levels. So it's the management and the administration of sports that's different between Gambia and Jamaica. But I
Yes.
don't think we can't do what the Jamaicans can do. And the only reason why we're not doing it is because we're not following the right examples.
Mm-hmm.
So the other reason is that they're not investing enough money in sports. I believe you win $50,000 if you have a gold medal in the Olympics. Now, even though it's an individual win, but that money would have been spent in Gambia. So they're not seeing it as an investment. All over the world, sports makes money. In Gambia, they can't. They're too busy, maybe spending that money on 4x4s and travel allowances or administration than to spend it on the athletes and the sports people. But also the budget is quite small, so 100+ million is what they're spending in sports, and I'm saying 1 billion dollars, which is 10 times what they're spending now. This is the only place that young people are concentrating on. This is the things that they do because they want to do it. It's not because, of a job. It's not to pay bills. They're passionate about these things. Sports and entertainment is what I put together now, because I think the facilities for sports can double for entertainment as well. Thankfully now our local artists are filling up the stadium. It's a 20,000-seater venue. And we only have one of those public and one private that can take up to 10,000 people, and they're calling out for more of these things. So just building out the infrastructure in the rest of the country would take some of that money. But also, I want sports to be looked at as a job. If the sports people can start earning that same 10,000 level, and they can look at it as a job, because right now sports is more like, here's some fares for you to come back for training, or we don't have much, but hold on to this still. So nobody does sports full time as a professional. We're all amateur sports people because you need another job to sustain you.
Yes.
I want sports to be a professional job because I see how you can be like Sadio Mane from Senegal and make it to Liverpool. That's money coming back.
Yes.
That's all money coming back. So that's
really
the way I see sports. If this is where young people are putting their energy and they've managed to get this far, the least we can do is to help them get further.
Invest in it, yeah. Okay, now we have a whole big pandemic that's going on right now.
Yeah.
And we all know the COVID, this and that. What's your intake on that?
COVID, I still don't know what my take is. It's evolving all the time, but for the longest time, even before COVID, I've always been into conspiracy theories. So I'm still eyeing it. I remember that movie, Jerry Maguire. Show me the money, Jerry.
Yes.
So whoever's making money from this, I would say maybe has something to do with it. So, okay, I'm going to throw a few things out there. They might be highly controversial, but I'm used to controversy.
Yeah, you're used to it, so.
I would say that COVID, for me, it's a signal or a sign that maybe the balance of power is moving to the east. I think the Chinese are ready to step on the world stage, and whether it was fabricated, whether it was real, it seems as if they're the ones that are showing us the money. So in world history, every time power has shifted, there's been bloodshed.
Yes.
Whether it was in the Second World War when power was shifting from Europe to America, or in other wars before that, there's always been bloodshed.
Always bloodshed.
So I really don't care whether it was manufactured or whether it came from nature. It's here. That's what matters. How are we going to deal with it? Unfortunately, in Gambia, people don't take it seriously, but I wouldn't blame them as well because they're not seeing the effects of COVID anymore. We're going around without masks, shaking hands, going back to life as normal, and it doesn't feel that dangerous. I don't know what the situation is abroad, but definitely out here, When it started, we saw the effects. Old people were dying, were dropping off. And because we're predominantly Muslim, we have this feast of Tobaski where they kill the rams and they have to get together in big crowds to pray. Every time we have that, because we have people coming in from neighboring countries to come and sell sheep here for the sacrifice, the level of corona rises. So we've been through one wave last year and we went through another one recently. So people are aware that corona is there, but they're going on with life as normal. I have people who only found out that they got corona because they were traveling and their test turned out positive. So they never had any symptoms. So it's a mixed one, because you also see where the internet is shutting down people who are giving alternative visions, and you can understand why, because there's some quacks out there that are saying, you know. So it's a mixed one. I'm still watching the space, but show me the money.
Yeah, there you go. I like that. Now, before I even go out of more into the politics part, you say, you know, I'm not a tea drinker that much, but since the whole COVID thing came in, I'm more going to lemon tea. That's what I drink. Lemon tea. It's all about lemon tea, lemon tea. You came up with this tea and you hit the market with that tea. But the tragedy part about how you do your thing, like, you know, people would spend X amount of money if the tea is coming from America, the tea is coming from England, and maybe it has the same simpler ingredients that's in their own backyard, but people will spend so much money to go get those tea to drink and they feel good. You came up with strategy point that I would say, that's my personal thing, strategy point, and you started out your tea, which pretty much hit the market by storm. Tell us a little bit about that.
So, okay, this is where I give thanks to Rastafari for,
Yes.
because it comes from the lyrics, keep your culture. Rasta man live up. So we have all these things that we used to use before Europeans came, and now all of a sudden they're inferior because there's Lipton and Nescafe?
Mm-hmm.
No, no. I'm saying let's go back to the things that we had.
And all of that. So
Yeah, so my argument is why is it very easy for the African to give up what he has, whether it's in tea or whether it's in religion or whether it's in practices? It seems to be extremely easy for black people to say, oh, whatever we had is crap. We're going to adopt this new thing that has come from abroad. So it's really about bringing people back to what we used to have. But I think part of the problem is also that the world has moved on and we're all into branded goods, and maybe we're not branding our natural things the way that we're used to seeing other things in mass media. So the tea thing was an experiment to see if I make it accessible, if I put it in a tea bag, which is what we're used to seeing, would there be uptake? And I give thanks that it seems to be that that is the reason why we were not drinking our own teas. It wasn't branded and put in a box and in the packaging or in the form factors that we're used to. But nobody would have ever known if we didn't try. So I'm into trying new things all the time. I'm into trying new things. Why does something work in that part of the world that doesn't work here? Can it work here? Can we adapt it? Do we have to cut and paste it exactly? Or can we cut, modify, and paste so that it works for us as well?
Now, as a candidate, how are you when you're managing a whole your team here and stuff like that? Now, how are you when it comes to being you say something that you strongly believe in, especially in your team, and you have especially what I should say, Trump just went through that. A couple people on his team turned against him, and he just blasts them right then and there and things like that. How are you if a member of your team, as the CEO, the big manager, don't agree with certain things that you put out? How you would address that?
I
Because
mean,
as a leader, you have construction criticism, you have criticism that is not constructive, and sometimes people may not see eye to eye, even your own team, in certain things that you want to do or want to get done. How would you address that?
so there's a saying in the local language that says any country that came about as a result of fighting would not disintegrate as a result of an argument.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I have some controversial things. I have some things that are controversial to other people. But these are the things I believe in. And if you cannot put to me a logical argument why I should or shouldn't say certain things, then it's on you. It's not on me. I've changed over time. I've changed my positions on different things depending on being ignorant about them in the start and then finding out that, oh, I was wrong. So I'm never scared of admitting that I'm wrong, which is something most people have an issue with.
Yeah.
But you need to come to me with facts. You need to provide a convincing argument why I should not hold the position that I'm holding. And if you can, yeah, I can stand corrected at any time. I can stand corrected at any time. So, I mean, you would have differences with people, but if they don't like it and they cannot convince you, invariably they're the ones that leave. I don't ask them to leave. The nature of Gambian politics is such that most people are floating voters. They could say they're with you today, but they're not going to take a bullet for you. If somebody else dangles a carrot in front of them, they'd leave you in a blink and go and start saying stuff about you. I knew this about politics in Gambia from the start, so I knew what I was getting into. It's not everybody that I start the journey with that I will see at the end of the race.
Yes.
And I expect that. So I'm ready for that. I'm expecting that to come.
All right. I looked in a lot of things in Africa when it comes to women running in the same political field, or women running for high power or certain things. And there's certain levels where woman is allowed to go a step forward, and no matter what the qualification or whatever, they will not pass that white line. One female, political female, was, I would say, very lucky in being the vice president. How she get that position, I have no idea, because when I check the cabinet of what's going on right now and things, it's amazing. What's your opinion? I would ask you, especially women holding strong political role, or even if you become the president, how much would your cabinet team be also male, female, or just male, 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 continue the whole trending, or what's your intake on that?
So, I mean, I think it's long overdue. I think we need more women in public life, but the realities on the ground, and when I say realities, these are things that I've come to notice only recently, only when I started on my political journey. Tradition is against them, culture is against them, and a lot of the older people have accepted that role that they should be inferior, unfortunately. I grew up as an only child of a strong woman, so I know the value of women.
You know what? Stick
Um,
a pin right there. Let me read this thing to you, and you'll see where I'm getting at. Out of
yeah,
58 members of the Gambian National Assembly, only 6 are females. All right?
yeah,
On the cabinet level, there are only 4 females among 23 ministers.
Yeah.
Ministry. And the levels of how thing is, it's even women constitute only 8 out of 120 consulate in the country.
Yeah. I mean, it looks bad, but like I say,
It is
is it
bad.
because is it because women are being held down, or are they holding themselves down? I don't know whether you've heard of that thing where there were crabs in the barrel, and then
The thing too.
if you stick a new crab in and he's trying to climb out, the other ones pull him down until they all think this is the way things should be. So one thing that the previous administration did right was to take a woman as the vice president. She was capable. And this administration has followed that example. What I would like to do is to employ 50% women in my cabinet, at least 50%, if not more, because they are more than the men. So maybe that is something that would endure.
That's the first I ever heard you say that. I like that. Wow.
No, it has to be. Okay, so because of my background and working in MRC, I know the value of diversity. I work with people from all walks of life. I work with people from all nationalities. And I know that if you bring together different ideas, new things happen. So you can't keep running the world or a government just on half of the population. But unfortunately, I don't think it's government's role to go into the family and tell them how to live. But you can set an example by picking half of your ministers as women, and hopefully people will learn from that. Because sometimes all it takes is an example. I have noticed that a lot of people are followers. They prefer to imitate than to innovate. They need somebody to show them that, this is possible, and in fact is maybe better than what we had. And then they'll be like, okay, we can take this down from here.
Hey, I have another touchy, controversial. I think this is one of the biggest controversial question of all questions. And I want you to think about the answer before. And I know you're very smart, so you know where I'm headed. Gay and lesbians. Now, what's your intake, especially when it comes to that aspect of gay and lesbians? Because you're going to be approached on that. You're going to be challenged on that, especially because of your Rastafarian beliefs. But also, it's not about that. No, you're running a country if you're elected, and also that question going to be pounced upon you at some way just before you get in, or you are elected. How you would address that? Because you're going to have voters who are going to be voting for you are gay, lesbians, and also they also are entitled to whatever. So talk to me on that.
So I think that what you do with your life is your problem.
Okay.
I really don't have any issues with gays and lesbians. What I probably would have an issue with would be public indecency.
Okay.
At least coming from where I come from, even straight or heterosexual couples don't kiss in the streets. You see that with tourists, not your average Gambian. Maybe this new younger generation, because of MTV and other influences, are more open to that. But for me, whatever you do behind closed doors is your business. You're a grown, consenting adult. Do what you do, because I don't go to heaven based on what you do. I go to heaven based on what I do. So before you take out the speck in your brother's eye, take out the boulder in your eye. Wow. Let me take care of myself and you take care of yourself. And, the world will be a better place, as John Lennon said.
Guys, please, in this room, when I'm finished, please listen to his press conference. Please listen to his press conference. Your approach to, and that's why I say you deserve to be president. You deserve to get a shot because your thought process is way up there that I don't think Babylon system they could come and try to trick you with anything and come because me personally, you are a step ahead. You are a step ahead, and I like how you articulate yourself. I like how you answer the questions. Appreciate that. Now, my other question that I wanted to go look. Malcolm X says, reading is fundamental. As hoping to be that big leader, that big CEO, do you read? Do you do a lot of reading?
I did a lot more before these devices came into our lives than I do now.
Okay.
I'm a big fan of podcasts these days over reading, but I do a lot of writing. I write code for a living, so
Okay.
I'm more into writing and listening than reading these days, but I was a big reader.
Mm-hmm.
And I read genres that are not, it's not non-fiction. It's not fiction that I'm reading. I'm reading history. I'm reading African origin of civilization, myth or reality. These are the things that I'm interested in. I need to know, or I want to know where I came from. I'm looking for a narrative that is an African voice, not just our story told to us by other people. No, I want. So recently I've been not reading, but the BBC made a program, The History of Africa, and it came from a set of books commissioned by UNESCO, which was written by Africans on their perspective of African history from prehistory until now. So I've been into that, and it's always an eye-opener when you go back into history and you see how things are today because of what happened yesterday.
Yes.
So yes, I am into reading, but not opening a book and reading those works as I used to before.
Nice. Now, who is your role model or mentor?
I would say Bob Marley is a big role model. I would say Muta Baruka with his he did an interview with Jamaican with Ian Boyne, and that opened my eyes up into. So what I like is somebody that gets me thinking in a way that I've never thought of before. So there's this other Indian guy called Sadhguru who has also opened my brain in new ways that I wasn't thinking. So, I mean, I'm open to everything. I like learning new things. There was this thing on YouTube once when they said that in Japan they name the blocks, not the streets. In the West we name the streets, the space between the blocks. In Japan they name the blocks, and then they number them according to which house was built first. Number 2 doesn't come next to number 1. Number 2 could be on the other side. So in China they have this medicine thing where you pay a small fee for every day you're well, but you don't pay at all when you're sick because they believe that, it's the things that they're giving you that's keeping you well. So when you're sick, they're not doing their job properly and they have to get you back to well so that you. So I would never have thought of those things. I always we live on so many assumptions that sometimes you don't even know the assumptions that you're living on. So for me, anything that takes away one more assumption is something that I'm interested in.
Wow, amazing! I like that's good. That's good. Now you follow the Rastafarian teaching from Jamaica. Tell me a little bit about that. How you was introduced as a Rastafarian, and especially you follow the whole yardie, thing of because you have people just think growing the locks on your head, that's it. It's not about that. It's like a movement. It's a way of life. Not the one that's twist up in me here and okay, twist up in me here so I can smoke him weed and things like that. And basically nothing is here. It's just a hairstyle. So you tell me because you are the Rasta man.
So I would say that, it's been with me all my life because reggae music has been around. Gambia is a big fan of reggae music, not just me. You'd hear it all the time. Um, but in 2009, I was on another degree. I was doing a PhD, and I had a chance to go to the US. And that's when I got the internet. That's when I really got YouTube because what I left back home was, I think we were still on like modems and 56 kilobits or something like that. And that's where I watched that Ian Boeing interview with Mutu Baruka, and I started looking up more about Rastafari. So I'm not sure how it's done in Jamaica. I know for a fact we don't have the 12 tribe and the Bobo Shanti and the Nyabingi. It all is just one thing to us out here, and it's manifest in the music. But I've always been somebody that listens to the lyrics. It's the lyrics that is important, not the beats. And I made it to the point that yes, I don't eat animal. This is also coming from that Ian Boyne interview, and I don't wear leather shoes or leather belt because if you're against the killing of animals, it's not just the food. You need to think about it, and that is always shocking to people in Gambia. That what do you mean you don't eat animals? Like, what kind of African are you that doesn't eat animal? But the thing is, I don't even miss it. It's not like I have cravings and I'm walking past a joint that roasts meat and I smell it and I'm like, oh, I wish I had some of that. No, it was a switch. So for me, all these things that once I get it in my head that this is the way things should be done or this is the right thing, I have no issues in changing overnight. I don't need a gradual, oh, I'm only eating half the quantity I used to eat, or I'm going off red meat and I'll eat chicken and then I'll drop chicken for fish and then eventually stop. No. It's like, okay, this thing makes sense. Why kill the animals when you don't need to? Okay, so animals off and animals off. So I've been grateful that I have that. By that I mean that if I'm convinced of a certain thing, I can change my behavior based on my convictions. And that has always worked out for me. So I've never really been addicted to any one thing. If I've been doing stuff in the past that was good or bad and I needed to change it, I could change it just based on conviction. It's the story that I tell myself that is important.
Okay, so now walk me through this now. I'm a meat eater, love meat. But say I'm coming to Gambia and I'm hanging out with you for a
Yeah.
week.
You
And
can
no
eat
doubt.
whatever you want to eat.
Oh, I could eat whatever. But if you were
You can
making the pot, what would be your food of choice to introduce me to Gambia, introduce me to your thing? What would be the, the food of
So
choice?
okay, because I don't eat meat, but people still eat meat, and people still ask you to come and eat when you go to their houses. So because I don't want to be a fundamentalist, yeah, I don't eat meat, so I'm not gonna touch this stuff. When you go out to these people, up to 10 years ago or up to 2010, I was still eating meat. When you go out and they say come and eat, and you don't want to offend them, I would eat their food and not take part of the meat. I'll take part of the sauce. So then my friends started mocking me and they were saying, you say you don't eat meat, but like this is meat juice. The meat was cooked in the sauce. How can you say? So, I mean, if I'm cooking for myself, I'll not include meat. If you invite me and I feel I don't want to offend you and there's a way to separate the meat and the fish and the chicken and the shrimps from the rest of the sauce, I'm not that fundamentalist to say, no meat. I live in the real world where people are not going to switch from eating meat overnight.
Mhm.
So, whatever people do for themselves, that's fine, as long as they leave me to do what I want to do for myself. Invariably, people come and try to tell me to cut my hair, to eat some meat, to do this and do that. No, I'm not trying to tell you how to live because I don't want you to tell me how to live. Let's have a reasoning and convince me that this is why I should do the things you're saying. And if you do, I will switch.
Okay. Now, I got a question here. It's a funny question.
Go ahead.
Now, do you have any gray in your dreads as yet?
Maybe not in my dreads, but it started to show in my beard. So I'm
So,
sure I have a few there.
so are you ready to take up the role wherein you'll have gray in your hair within a year.
Yeah, the color of my hair is not any issue to me.
Because
That's the
you remember Obama when he started out, dark hair.
I remember.
So
And
that's
I
why
mentioned that.
yes. So
And I
are you
mentioned that.
ready to be full with gray hair? But again, you say it's no problem.
I'm hoping I wouldn't gray as fast as Obama, and I'm not trying to stay for 2 terms either. I'm just trying to
And,
stay for 1 term and
and
leave.
that and that's one thing that I disagree with you. And I'm gonna tell you why.
Everybody disagrees, but you need to convince me why I should stay for longer.
I'm going to. I'm going to. Hopefully, I can. All right. And I'm using, especially because I live in America, so I'm using everything with America. Now, you taking the position of that particular leader that's there to clean up his mess may take more than a year for
Okay.
you to start changing certain policies, certain roles, certain things, because you have a lot of old, and that's going to be one of your biggest problem. The older generation who is set in their ways, they ain't like you. They will not like you. The younger generation, where basically all of this campaign you have to focus more on, because the old folks, very few will change, because no matter what you show them, I've been in politics here X amount of years and I see this, and you could have showed them the whole clear blue sky. They just negative and just set in their ways, and that's the worst thing. Person set in their ways and will not see another way ever. Just like a horse, a racehorse, have that bridle at his eyes, don't
Yeah.
see anything than just that. Now, that's said and done. You go in and you start working on your low policy, the things them that you want to work on. Education is gonna take more than a year for that to even come about. Money for the employment. You cannot accomplish any of that less than a year. A year you cannot. So how that gonna work for you? And you already wrote your resignation. So changing that, it's not gonna change. So how you gonna up with that?
So, okay. The way I see it, we have a problem with continuity. And every new administration comes and rubbishes whatever the previous administration was doing and say, I have the right answers. And staying for 30 years or 22 years or however many years African leaders have been staying from hasn't brought that continuity to us. So for me, the argument of cleaning up a mess is going to take a while to clean up a mess before you start on your path is not a very strong argument. What I am advocating for, so one of the things that I did say was national development, where I want to get the people involved. So it's a bottom-up approach. People tell us what they want for development in their area. What's important to you this year from the budget? And you say, so if people are deciding what they want for development, and let's say after 5 years I can get that into the constitution so that even the next administration coming would have to abide by that, then what is the point? It's the people's job that you're doing, not you're not the clever person here. Because I'm a big fan of the law of averages. There's this thing where if you had a guessing game, guess the weight of the cake in that you have sometimes in events. The average of what everybody tells you is usually the weight of the cake, although individually they wouldn't get the weight of the cake. So it's I forgot what the word is, it's the thing of crowds. There's a certain thing that crowds have when they come together. And I haven't seen anybody in the world giving people that level of participation in their development. What do they want for their community? They know better than any politician sitting in the seat of power because he's far removed from their everyday problems. So if you have people telling you what they want for development, you're just there to oversee that and hopefully that is where the continuity is. Because as Africans, we've been very greedy. Once we get into the power, we don't want to leave. Even in countries where they've had two-term limits, they're all undoing their two-term limits. Ivory Coast had a civil war to get Gbagbo out and to get Ouattara in. Now Ouattara is trying to extend his 2 terms and trying to undo the constitution. Guinea Conakry, that recently had a coup d'etat, is also because it was 2 terms and that guy removed it and went for a 3rd mandate. Senegal, our neighbors, are also having a president that's not saying yes or no whether he's going to stand, even though this is his 2nd term. So for me, 2 terms is too long a time in politics in Africa. It's enough for you to undo things that you were not supposed to undo. So if it's continuity we're looking for, then maybe we should try new things instead of just term limits, because that clearly is not working.
Okay.
I also see it as not having to do everything. I don't see it as a sprint, I see it as a relay. So even if I get the foundation going and somebody else puts the walls and somebody else puts the roof and somebody brings the plumbing and somebody else brings the electrical, I don't have to build the whole house. Let me just get the foundation started and pass the baton to the next runner. That's the way I see it. It's a fundamentally different way of seeing it. I know you coming from America would see it as, oh, 1-term presidents are people who have failed. That's why they only have 1 term. But the context is different. So it might look bad from American eyes, but I am looking at it from African eyes. I'm looking at it from my context, from my neighborhood, where I don't trust other people to not want to stay there forever.
Mm-hmm.
This is one easy way to fix that. If you know you're leaving in 5 years, you spend the whole time working. You don't spend one year wasting time on undoing what somebody has done. You build up on that and you keep it moving.
Ooh, whoa. I get what you're saying, yes. But especially a lot of things that when you get in, a friend from England, Marie B, she said, do you believe in globalists? She want to hear your opinion. And
Do I believe in global what?
globalists, like, climate, I think the climate changing, the global changing. Do you believe in that? And what would you do, especially when it comes to that?
I mean, I believe in climate change and in global issues, but I'm not sure how much power I have to do anything about it. I think on the scale of people polluting the planet, Africa is very low. We don't have all those cars, we don't have all those manufacturing industries, and I don't think the people that are doing the pollution are going to listen to us. That's the first thing. But even me and you are partly guilty because we don't want to give up our smartphones and our cars and everything else. So I like how everybody is worried about the environment, but as individuals, none of us is taking any action. Like, we haven't changed our lifestyle. If you believe in fixing the environment, well, as a function of our system not working, we have a lot of bucket baths. Why don't you start just having a bucket bath? Get water in 1 bucket and shower from that every day. Don't use more than 1 bucket. How about that as your contribution to saving the planet?
I like that. I remember when I went back to Jamaica, I was doing a lot of that because most of my life growing up here, and I went back and no hot water. So I'm telling them at the house, listen, me put on a pot, they're like, but you grew up here, you were born here, you grew up here, you used to bathe in the cold water, now you tell me if you got hot water, and I say, I just can't do it, man. You got to put on
Exactly.
water,
Exactly. So we complain about the planet being polluted, but we don't want to change our lifestyles, which is partly why the planet is being polluted.
Also, you said something in a press conference that I needed to chat about here, and I know we're going out in, pretty much long doing here. You talk about giving vouchers out, and I think it was about $5,000 vouchers,
Yeah.
and prime minister should go, the president should go into the community and find out what that particular community, because every community don't need the same thing.
Yeah.
I like that. Not every community need the same thing, because when they get into power, okay, they just say, okay, this is what needs to be done, and they do it on a wide aspect of everybody. This is what. Meanwhile, that particular community may not need that because they're already advancing a certain thing. So you're saying that go to every community and see what that community is needed and ask, and that will be done. Explain a little bit more for those in the room who have not listened to your press conference and know what I'm talking about.
The idea there is, why don't we get greater participation from the people, and let's get some development ideas from the bottom up, not the way we're doing it now, where we bring in consultants from Ivy League schools who have never lived the lives of the people you're trying to change to come and tell you what you have to do in terms of development. Let the people themselves tell you what they want this time around. So that 5,000 Dalasi was the equivalent of 25% of the national budget at the time. So always peg it to the budget, and always make sure that the people are directly involved in the decisions on how that 1/4 of the budget is spent. As the government, you still have control of 3/4. You might need to take care of things that people cannot think about. But for me, it gives people a greater sense of belonging to the nation, a greater sense of participation, and maybe they will start to understand, the problems with running a country when they start suggesting things that would fail. Because some things would fail if it's crowdsourced like that. But collectively, we would learn from these lessons and move forward. And so that is also linked to the reason that I was giving you previously as to why I think I can do a one-term presidency. Because once people start participating in the decision making, I'm hoping they would think, oh, I don't want this to stop. I want to be able to have a say every year, whether it's electricity I want over roads, or roads over a health center, or any one of those things. Everything that happens here usually is top down. Some foreign body would bring the money and say, oh, okay, so recently there's this project where they spent, I think, $20 million on sanitation and digging latrines for people. The argument is there's this thing about flies and eyes. When there's a lot of open defecation in rural areas, and the scientists have found out that if the flies stand on the open feces and go and stand on people's eyes, they get some kind of blindness. And so they came in and they said, we have $20 million to dig latrines. These are people who are used to shitting outside in the bush, and they spent $20 million digging the latrines, and the people are still not shitting in the latrines. So now I'm thinking, if you had $20 million and went to those people and say, I have $20 million, what do you need? I'm sure they wouldn't have said, dig us a shithole. This is our most important priority. I'm sure they would have said other things. Yes, I understand that the cleanliness is important, but maybe if you give them a water system so they can be washing their hands more often, that would have helped to fix it as well. But as it is, this is an example of how projects get done in Africa. A World Bank here, or an IMF there, or an African Development Bank, or an IDB would come in. And it's the golden rule. The one with the goal makes the rules. So they come in and they tell you, we have this money for you, but this is how you have to spend it. You can't spend it any other way. No, I think we should be moving on from that kind of development and start, having a say in what we want.
Yes. Now, you speak about the legalizing of the weed, and you said something that really stands out, because I myself, when I hear other state in America was legalizing weed, I said that would never happen in New York, because of how New York, you just have a small little thing like that. They just want to glance a small little thing like that, and you going down, then you getting locked up. And so New York was one of the toughest to pass that, and it took them a way long time. Even now, there's still a little glitch to if they see you with marijuana, what will happen to you, because they still don't want to give 100% legalization. Now, you looked at it and you gave example of Uganda and Morocco, how they're making billions of dollars off it. And you say, why can that? It's not, I don't want it to be legalized so everybody going around and getting smoke and doing this and that. You saying that there's money to be made here. There's billions and billions of dollars that could be made off this. So legalizing it also and have it controlled, I think that's what you're trying to say. Then we'll do it. Talk a little bit about it.
So yeah, that's exactly what I'm trying to say there. And I knew that they would ask me questions based on stereotypes, and even if the journalists themselves didn't want to ask the questions, the Gambian public would have wanted those questions asked. So I was prepared for those questions. And like I said, the UN has voted to decriminalize it at the global level. The WHO is accepting to say there are medical benefits of cannabis. Let's start doing research. And then as black people, you look around and you see that, oh, cannabis was being prescribed even in America until maybe brown people started to benefit from it, and then they made it illegal. And you see them kneeling on George Floyd's neck last year, and you're thinking there are ulterior motives as to why cannabis has been made illegal. But I mean, back home here, it's illegal. You get 5 years for smoking a joint if they want to take you through courts and everything like that. Possession is 5 years. Trafficking can be up to 10 years. So you can have a young kid that's going to school and because of peer pressure or whatever, gets caught smoking a spliff, and you could be gone for 5 years. In practice, yes, most people will do a deal with law enforcement and pay a small bribe to not go to prison. But growing up in Gambia, the level of consumption is much higher now than it was before. So I'm saying making it illegal and threatening to lock people up is not working as a deterrent. Maybe it's an addiction problem. Maybe we should address it a different way. Instead of locking people up, let them be. Let's start finding them, because clearly this thing is not working. Okay, so the traditional, what people think here is, oh, is the reason why the kids are getting mad. No, the kids are not getting mad because of that. The kids are getting mad because they're switching to ecstasy. Police can smell cannabis, but they can't smell the pills. And now there's an explosion of all these pills, ecstasy, meth, whatever, you name it, cocaine is available. When I was growing up and going to clubs, you couldn't get cocaine in a nightclub. Now you can get a gram of cocaine in a nightclub in Gambia. That's how bad it's become. And I am saying, if it's more rampant now and people don't give a damn when they go to the stadium, when it's a big show happening, like, this is the bad part of it. Let's try and do the good part. Let's show people that this same cannabis that you're accusing the boys of, it's making them lazy, it's making them sit on a street corner and they're up to crime and no good, is the same cannabis that can bring in the billions, that will build the roads and it will stock your hospitals, and it will give you education, it can create jobs. This is the other side of cannabis, and this is the thing that I'm trying to bring out.
And a bigger rehabilitation center.
Exactly. So, I mean, I still hold on to that because, Donald Trump has shown us that controversy sells. That's how I get free media. That's probably why you're interested in inviting me today. If I was just talking about building roads and providing water, I would never have heard from you.
True.
So everybody else is still, this is the thing. A lot of young people have gone out and gotten voters' cards this year that have never been involved in the political process.
Nice.
So at least I'm reaching a demographic that nobody else has been marketing to, because they were like, these useless boys, just leave them on the street corner. They're not worth anything.
Stick a pin again, stick a pin again. That's the same thing I was talking about. I was even thinking about that because, as I said, older generation stuck in their ways, and now you have to focus on the new generation that's out there,
Yeah.
the generation that's coming up. You have to be embedded with them. You know, the older one, if they see the light, they will come along. But focus, and as you said, a lot of the youth them start getting their voters card and stuff like that, and that's where it is. That's really because the more you show and they see what is there for them, then the attraction and the attention and everything will be what they want. That's good.
Yeah, I mean, so because of this, and most of the other parties don't have somebody that can reach that demographic that I can reach. They've started reaching out to me because everybody believes it's a coalition that can remove the current incumbent. And when I asked them about cannabis, are you willing to come out? Because like it or hate it, I might have a manifesto and you might have asked my ideas about all these things, but people support me because of cannabis. People are against me because of cannabis. So I say to them, you want me to come and endorse you, you want me to come and join the coalition with you. Are you ready to tell people that you're ready to support cannabis legalization? Oh no, we think that, yeah, we should legalize cannabis, but Gambia is not ready yet. We should do 5 or 10 years or 15 years of sensitization and Gambia will be ready. And I'm thinking these people really don't know what's happening in the streets today. So they're happy to legalize cannabis if public opinion was showing them that it's time for legalization. But right now it's political suicide for them to mention it. They don't want to lose the old people. So really what we're doing is we're selling out our youth because our old people are stuck in their ways?
Mm-hmm.
No, the youth are the future. I
Exactly.
say let's legalize it and we can talk to the old people as the thing is becoming legal and explain to them. If we do it in a responsible way, I think they will understand and they'll be like, oh, was this what I was scared of all along? Because there is a lot of abuse. There is already a lot of abuse. I don't think young people need any sensitization as to cannabis. And if it's causing them to switch away from cannabis to other drugs, then if legalizing will bring them back and stop them from growing mad, I think that's another reason why we should be legalizing it. So, yeah, even I am starting to get stuck in my ways. And so, how much longer are we going to leave it for? We want to push poverty for the next 15 years because Gambian mentality is not ready yet. No, I think as leaders, we should be leading the charge to change Gambian mentality, to explain to them why we think it's important for us to legalize it now. Because it's going to come. Sooner or later, it's going to come. I just don't want to be the last one on the train.
Yeah, that's good. That's true. That's true. Ella from Zimbabwe, she said we need a brother like you in Zimbabwe. Okay, Ella, definitely, and everybody is saying the same thing that if they have 5 of you in their country, if they have 10 of you, there will be so much of a big difference in things here.
So
Um,
I'm hoping that me springing up in the political sphere would influence other people to say, ah, it's been done before. Now I have the guts to go and do it. That if I can achieve that, I think I would have won, even if I don't win this election.
but you know what is so amazing? Like I was being introduced to you by not African American, by Europeans. Told me about you, and they are backing everything that you say. So if you wasn't saying the right thing, or they see the potential or see the truth in your eyes, you still wouldn't be getting this big, vast, what I should say, attention that you're getting. Because you just come up with any one of that 4 names, you popping up in social media. You know what I'm saying? So you getting the attention, and it's so amazing. I also wanna give thanks to Stonefire Production, and Tori, who called me up and like,
Yeah.
have you heard of this particular gentleman? I'm like, the name sounds familiar. I know I've heard. She said, I'm sending you something right now. Look him up. Get back to me. And when I start looking you up, watching a video that she sent me and stuff like that, and I'm like, whoa. I was like, whoa. I said I need to talk to this brother. She said, I know. That's why I send that to you. And it's so funny when I call my research team. I got a big up Belle C. She's in the room and she's so still hype. I wanted you to. I'm gonna let you meet her one day. And I said, I need you to. I just got something on a guy from Gambia. He's running as a candidate. What's his name? Oh my God, Bev. He got a long name. Oh my gosh, I don't remember. I'm like, you know what, Bev? Just type in Rastafarian running for presidential in Gambia. And by the time she put in Rastafarian running, you pop up. She said, I got him. I said, there you go. I told you. And, this question I got two questions, make it three, and then we're going to wrap things up. Who do you consider as your friend? Because now everybody's going to be your friend, because you are the eyes out there. So you're going to be having a lot of friends. A lot of people going to be, hey, they're going to cling to you because they see you're probably going to have a foot in it, and everybody is looking for something for themselves. So you also got to see, is this person really for me, or what he can get from me? You know what I'm saying? You're going to have people that stay away from you, and you're going to have people that cling to you because they see other things that they can strive for. Now, who is your friend? Who do you consider is your friend?
Who do I consider my friend?
Yes.
Well, okay. So the ones from old, the ones that knew me before I became this, whatever you think I am, I don't think I'm that famous or that popular yet.
Right, you're right.
Those ones I still consider as my friends. But the new ones, I mean, I think I'll be able to figure out who is your friend and who's not your friend, because eventually whatever they wanted would come out. So even in the political race, a lot of people come on board because they're expecting money. Oh yeah, okay, this guy's into politics, so he must have lots of money. Let's bleed him. He's a meal ticket for now. And I mean, I've come up with ways of finding out, even with the supporters, they'd be like, oh, we'll vote for you. You will? Okay, why don't you nominate me? Let's have your voters' cards. And any one of them that hesitates was just talking the talk, but they're not ready to walk the walk, because some other people just pull out their cards straight away and they're like, take it. So you come up with ways of filtering out the chaff from the groundnuts. I've always been a skeptical person to start with. I'm more on the negative side of zero than zero itself. So I don't give people a fair chance. I'm already thinking that you're coming to me for something that you want personally. And it's usually very easy to figure out the ones that are genuine, because they will do stuff without requiring anything from you. So I let people do stuff first before I even start putting in resources or stuff. Anybody that asks me for money before doing anything is probably somebody that I wouldn't go far with. Because some people go out of their way and do stuff, and then you hear about it, and these are the kinds of people that I should be hanging out with. I also don't let a favor go away. Like, I always reward favors. I have this feeling that if you do something for me, then I owe you one. I can't allow myself to owe you one. So I will go out of my way to equalize that favor. But I'm just watching and waiting to see which ones are just here for the handout and which ones would do stuff without me even asking for them. And those are the ones that I tend to keep.
Yes. Now, how would you like to be remembered?
I would like to be remembered as an ordinary. I still don't think I'm bold. People are telling me I'm bold. I don't think of myself as that because for the longest, okay, I was the kid that was being bullied in school. So I still, I guess, see myself as that. But at a certain point, if you believe in certain things and expressing those things is going to make people uncomfortable, that's on them. It's not on me. So if people start growing their dreads now because they're inspired by me, or if people start wearing shorts because Africa is really hot, but we're all wearing long trousers, I don't know why,
Hmm.
because they're inspired by me, or if people don't care about their appearance or how other people perceive them because they're inspired by me, then that's all I wanted. Because maybe the presidency is a distraction from, or it will help in me pushing Rastafari, but I think we should move beyond the songs. We should now try to put it in action and show people really what a Rasta government can do.
Yes, I like that. I like that. Now, your first day, if you're elected as the president, your first day in office, what would you want to do?
I don't know, maybe get some sleep from all the tiredness of campaigning.
You're sure right about that one. I'm with you for that. I'm definitely with you for that because you know what? And I've learned you are funding everything here.
But no,
Then,
that's the other thing. I wasn't raised on asking other people for money. So, and this is my thing, it's not their thing. I feel strange coming to ask you to give me money for something that I believe in. So, if you're not feeling it, obviously some people have stepped up and they're like, yeah, we know politics is expensive. Here is a contribution to your campaign. We like what you're doing.
hmm.
But I've not asked anybody for money yet, and I hope to keep it that way. What it translates to is I have to be innovative about the way I go around campaigning. I can't afford to be having a 50-car entourage. I ride a scooter because that's what I've been doing from 2010, but that seems to have created some kind of, I guess it makes me famous as well for that. But I get to places very cheaply. I'm not changing anything about my appearance. I tell people I wear secondhand clothes because I'm not trying to impress anybody anymore. I'm just trying to be myself. So it's not costing me as much as it would cost your traditional politicians who need to be flashy because that's what they have to offer. They're trying to con people into looking at the outside, not the inside. I keep telling people what I have inside is so much that I can afford to dress like this or ride on a scooter, and people still listen to me. So I'm grateful for that.
And your job right now as we speak, you are
I work, again, they call me a developer. This is for applications and databases and software. Like I say, we support the medical research that MRC does by providing the systems that they need for collecting data and analyzing it.
okay.
So that really translates nowadays into building web apps and mobile apps for people to get their job done.
Beautiful. Now, your mother, what does she look at you right now? What is she saying? I know she have a
I
big
think
smile on her face, but she's pretty much nervous.
not yet, not yet. My mother is very hard. She's hard like me. Maybe that's where I get the hardness from. So I'm accused of not being emotional, but I think that's a family trait.
Hmm.
When I started growing the hair, none of the family would understand. Everybody, again, it's associated with low lives and things like that. So everybody's like, cut your hair. But the other thing I give thanks for is that my family is stubborn. Everybody in my family is stubborn. My mom would be sick and she wouldn't go to the hospital. She'll be bearing the pain. Like, So I get it from there, and I keep telling them that. But after a while, they understood that I wasn't smoking cannabis or anything like that. That's why I grew the hair. So they tolerated it. And this getting into politics, I didn't tell anybody. Again, the way the whole world knew is me going to the radio and having that broadcast. So there was shock in the family to start with. But they've come round. They've come round since then, and I give thanks. They're supportive. Again, I'm not involving people unnecessarily, but at least they're not against it. So for nominations, I need 5,000 votes to submit in October. And she's been, calling her friends, and they've been taking photos of their voters card and sending it via WhatsApp. So, I mean, at least she's supportive of the role. She's a bit apprehensive because politics in Africa can be dirty. There's still juju and obia, and so she's still thinking about those things.
Strong. It is so strong. The whole obia thing, obia from Jamaica, and then when I found out in Zimbabwe, so that it's called juju, and it is if a person gets sick, they'll go to the juju man before they go to a doctor.
Yeah.
Doctor is like all, when the juju man can't help you, then you go to the doctor, and
the people who even to travel, say, from one city to another, would go to the juju man to see whether they wouldn't have any problems on the way before they go. That's the level for some people.
Wow. So, and if you win, you have a good juju man.
So this is my secret. I've had a lot of people since I got into politics. So I'll tell you this story. One of my friends that's helping out, or one of my team people, was saying, oh, we need to go to this Muslim guy. He can tell you what kind of, so it usually translates to charity, or give 100 bread to 100 people, and I don't know, do this other sacrifice and do that other sacrifice to help you on your journey. So he goes off to one of these Muslim guys and says, okay, he's prescribed charity X. And I say, okay, I hear. So a week later, he's like, how far with the charity? Have you given out the charity? I'm like, look, I really don't believe in these things, so I haven't given out the charity. Oh, but it's very important. It's very important. You have to do it. I says, okay, now do me this favor. Go and find another religious man and ask him about the same thing. If he prescribes the exact same charity, then I know they're talking to the same God. If he comes up with something different, then maybe they were not talking to God in the first place. So if you do that and we can get consensus, then I might consider taking the charity out. But my secret weapon has always been like to take care of my mother. Anything she wants, I try and provide. That's what I'm basing it on. I'm not basing it on any other external forces. I don't think any human being has a greater connection to the divine than I do. So why am I going through some next man? I just believe that if you do wrong, you're opening yourself up for wrong to affect you. So I go out of my way to try and avoid wronging people, and then I take care of my mother. That is my secret.
You know what? I'm glad I have your personal phone number, because when I go to a situation, I'm calling you. Listen, what do you think? What do you think? You think one move me should make? So, Mr. Banko, it's a pleasure sitting here talking to you. As I said, from the first night we chat, and I said, listen, we got to ease off here, because we don't want to start the interview here, because we go from one thing to the other, and it's a pleasure talking to you, and you are so down to earth. You're the real deal, and there's no going around your system. You're smart, you're intelligent, you have everything that people, the more they talk to you on a real, they'll see the light in you. And I hope Gambians will not just give a talk, but support and back you and come out and do that vote, because you are the real deal.
Now, starting to see the light.
Yes, And I'm glad for that. Now, I'm gonna leave the room open for you now to do your benediction and to address folks here, because you have people all over the world who are banking for you. And if there's something, if a person here want to make a donation, even though you're the type of person I don't really, I want to do it on my own. But if they want to make a donation and you can't stop that, where the donation could go to, and give that information and stuff like that. And floor is yours, sir.
So yeah, I mean, I'd like to say thank you for giving me access to your audience, for believing in my message as much as you do. But what can I say? It's not my message. It's just the evolution of Rastafari. I give thanks that even though people left here as slaves, their ideology, their way of life, I think is more superior to anything that we've imported from Europe or from the Middle East. And I'm happy that it's taken such an influence here. It's like what Malcolm X said about the chickens coming home to roost. So I might not be Jamaican, but it's the ideas. I remember listening to Garvey himself, and he said this is the first Marcus Garvey.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't put myself on the pedestal of Garvey, but I'm saying we're continuing the fight. We're bringing it home, and I think once we sow the seeds and it starts to grow, people will understand that black people are not inferior to any other person. I don't see any lines. Like you said, you were introduced to me by not African Americans. So that's the other thing I like about Rasta. We don't see borders, we don't see boundaries. I see everybody else like myself. I'm on my own journey trying to figure out stuff. I don't have time to be prejudiced against other people. Life is hard enough trying to be on the straight and narrow than to start worrying about how other people live, and that's another thing you get from putting yourself down deliberately and seeing how people treat you. So, I mean, in terms of support, if people want to help out, be my guest. I found out that politics is not cheap.
Not.
These days, everybody wants a T-shirt. They want to identify with me. They want to show people that they're in support of me. T-shirts cost money, especially if you're printing them in volume. So I say if you want to help, $5, not much more. $5. If you feel like giving more, £5, €5. If you feel like giving more, be my guest. But it would be easier if everybody gave $5 and ask somebody else who wants to help to give $5. I think in no time we can make it. $5 will pay for 3 or 4 T-shirts. I'm sure I have tens of thousands of supporters by now. In the US, I have a Cash App handle. It's WATOTJ. It's like you see on my shirt, WATOTJ.
Okay.
WATOTJ means there's no time, or time is collapsing, is the way somebody translated it to be. That's why I put it as my slogan. I also have a PayPal, support at watotj.gm. .gm is the domain name for Gambia.
Okay.
So I think those are the 2 easiest ways to donate if you want to donate. But yeah, I give thanks. It's been a journey for me. I've learned a lot about myself.
Mm-hmm.
I've learned a lot about my country and by extension Africa. And I've been grateful. I mean, you can sit in a classroom and learn stuff, or you can go out and have first-hand experience. I've been grateful that this one I didn't pick up in the classroom. I went out to the grassroots and I talked to people. There's a lot of pain and suffering, but there's a lot of love and laughter as well. Sometimes I'm surprised that people can be going through so much and still break out into laughter the very next minute. And so sometimes I'm conflicted. We're looking for development, and most of us think that development should be going the way of the Western world. But these are people that shoot themselves because they're not happy. They've moved up in Maslow's hierarchy, like their needs are now about who am I, or they have so much time on their hands that they're contemplating things. I can't get water out of my tap every day. I'm worried about showering. So that distracts me enough to have to sit there and contemplate. I do contemplate because I have more free time than most people. So I'm grateful, but I'm also apprehensive that this future that we're looking for that's better than where we are, is it really what we want, or should we be going back to the bush? So I went up country to the rural areas, and this young guy who comes to town once in a while was complaining about how we are enjoying in town.
Yeah.
We have omelets. Like he doesn't see eggs normally. And he was raving about how when they did him an omelette the last time he was in town, that was really nice. There's another soup that we do with okra and palm oil that he was raving about because he didn't have that in his community. All he had was herbs that like they grow for free, they grow naturally in the rainy season, and they cook most of that stuff without any oil. And I'm trying to tell him that you have the life, and he's not having any of it. He wants the oil, he wants the eggs, he wants the cholesterol. So if I can bridge that gap as well, if I can get people in urban areas, people in town to start going back to the villages and say, these people have been living a certain way. What are the good things that they've been doing that we can adopt?
Okay.
I would be grateful. So
You.
even if I don't do it for other people, I'll do it for myself. It's always an eye opener. It's always a new experience when I go to other places and see how other people are living. They always on the radio living because they're comparing it. Everybody's always comparing themselves with other people to see how far they're doing, and they think the haves are the way it should be. But
It should
you
be.
know, we're leaving all this stuff behind at the end of the day. It's all useless. It's all useless. So my connections are my biggest asset. Now I know Dion. There's somebody I could call up in America.
Yeah.
We vibe on a certain wavelength, on a certain frequency. And like you, I have friends that are stoners. I have friends from different walks of life. And usually I've had to compartmentalize my friends because maybe two sets of friends can't get together, but I can get along with everybody else.
Right.
And
That's true.
been my biggest strength. Like just having variety in my life and having different experiences
It's a
has
blessing.
been what is the most important thing in my life. Yeah. So thanks again. Thanks.
Yeah. Two things I want to ask you. Two things. One thing. Have you ever been to Jamaica before?
Not yet, but I would like to go, and I would like to go to the hills, not to any tourist resort.
No, 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 no. The hills. You have to. You have to go up and meet the Naya Bingi, the boat, and see the whole aspect of that life in the hills. Are the best. But you will be introduced to the weed. I'm telling you, the good thing. You know. So it's a good look. It's a good look. Thank you. And my next question,
Thanks.
you just bump it out of my head. So totally, I forgot. What I needed to do, those links that you were speaking about, the Cash App on the PayPal,
Yeah.
you have my WhatsApp. Send me
Yeah.
those links. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna post it on my page and stuff like that.
Okay.
You know. And any other person in the room, if you can't get to the brother, remember me have him long line number. You understand? So me can reach him before anybody else. So I don't know if you do. Just link him. We link him up. Thank you very much, Mr. Bankhill.
Thanks,
It's
John. Thanks.
been a pleasure here, and I said to you, all the best, and everything that you want to see put forward. People come out, support. People come out and vote. Young people, let's turn up this thing. This thing I like with you. You should put this as your you know every Donald Trump, he had this thing that he always talk. I forgot because I don't like him, but I forgot he always have this thing that he says. But you have a thing that you said on your press conference. Rasta don't come to
Wow, we come to conquer.
Rasta don't come to bow. We come to conquer. Listen to me. It's a wicked catchphrase. Wicked catchphrase. Because even Mocha Baruka, spoke about that, and I was dying laughing because I know he would have drawn that out, you know.
But that's actually a quote from Bob Marley when he said, I don't come to bow, I come to conquer. And I'll tell you how that came about. I think when I came out, there was a lot of, like, people were so appreciative, and then they did a reality check. In the past, when they've had hope, it's like the political establishment then makes a deal, they give them a position as a minister or an ambassador, and then that fire fizzles out. So that's why there's a full interview, and I'll send you the link to that. The guy was like, how do we know you're not going to sell us out? And I was like, Rasta don't come to bow, we come to conquer. And that became the thing that sent me all over the world. But I think I'll make T-shirts of Rasta don't come to bow, we come to conquer, and sell them as a fundraising for here.
When you said that, I hold my head and I'm like, yes, I like that. Ladies and gentlemen, you see, he's the type of person that you could sit here and talk to for the whole day and then watch time goes. That's how BANKOLE is. Yeah, I love you, brother. Thank you. All right. Love, respect, always. Remember, don't forget to send me the link on my WhatsApp. Guys, I see Miss Teresa and other folks saying that they would love to donate. Thank you, guys. The guys from the UK that's saying that. Enough love and respect. Thank you. Thank you also for the support that you guys also came out to do and to see what this brother is. Big up. Okay. Peggy Debbie say Rasta is not for sale. Yes, Peggy. Out to Jamaica.
Exactly.
That we are talking about. Okay. Thank you again and all the best. Have yourself a beautiful weekend, what's left of it, and your endeavor. Thank you.
Thanks, Jion. Thanks for having this conversation.
Sure. Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right then.